Hello, my name is Jake Solinero. I am currently in my senior year at Sonoma State University. Last year, I was starting point guard on the men's basketball team, and today I came here to talk to you guys about something very, very important, especially in a young child's life: the impact of sports. Sports for me has been one of the most rewarding experiences I've ever experienced in my life. For me, it's been the result and the accumulation of plenty hours of hard work, seeing great results in the form of scholarships, also in the form of friends. I've made lifelong friendships out of sports. It's taught me team building, it's taught me chemistry, it's taught me how to confront conflict. It's taught me essentially everything I need to know about handling adversity. But what if I wasn't taught these things correctly? What if I was somehow, some way led off the path and some of the lessons that I learned were impressioned upon me incorrectly? That would have a very disastrous impact, especially on how I think and how I'm molded as a player. And I can definitely say, in my personal experience, I've had coaches and I've had experiences that have been negative, and they have definitely led to lasting impacts on me today, especially as a person. With that being said, I would like to help you as parents make sure to look out for any kind of warning signs or how to help you guys ensure that your child has a very successful sporting experience. With that being said, let's get started. So first and foremost, the two concepts I wanted to start with are first, motivation. So with motivation, there's two types. There's intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. They work on a spectrum, with extrinsic being the weakest form of motivation and intrinsic being the highest form of motivation. What we know about motivation is that more motivated people are typically happier, they have better results, and eventually down the line they lead better lives. So how can we and create an environment that allows your child to be more motivated and happier? What we also know is that extrinsic motivation is not as effective as intrinsic motivation. So that person that you know that hates their job and is only doing it for pay, they're not going to be motivated to improve. However, the individual that you know that is in love with just the process of getting better and searching for ways to improve themselves, that person is likely going to have a happier life. And this directly applies to your child. Your child, let's say they have a great passion for soccer and all they want to do is play soccer. You won't have to take them to the soccer field. All you'll have to do is just let them be. And what will happen before your eyes is that they'll be on YouTube looking up soccer videos. They'll be asking you, hey, mom, dad, can you drive me to the soccer field? I want to practice my free kicks. All of this will come internally. And there will be no kind of reward that you'll have to give them except for just them wanting to be better by themselves. And this greatly differs from extrinsic reward. And what has been found is when parents try to pay their children to maybe perform a certain goal, the motivation to do the certain goal is not as great as it would be in other cases. So any kind of way that we can increase intrinsic motivation is an absolute plus. And that is exactly where we want to go. Moving forward, the next concept that I would like to discuss is punishment. Punishment is a very, very scary thing. And a lot of people don't know the right way to punishment. Me growing up, I've always had coaches scream at me, belittle me, tell me I wasn't good enough. This has an incredibly lasting impact on your son or daughter's self-confidence. And that's what we want to try to stay away from. We want to have kids who grow up into adults who are confident, willing to attack the world, and just feeling very secure about themselves. With that being said, what we need to know is that punishment should be used only as a last resort. And research shows that 80 to 90% should be positive reinforcement if you're trying to change behavior. And that kind of comes from things like smiles, telling them good job, saying their name. Punishment actually leads to fear of failure over time. If you keep hammering home, it makes children scared to perform. It makes them hesitant. And even in my own experience as a basketball player, I've had coaches make tell me if I missed one shot, I'm coming out of the game. And what does that do when you're out on the court? It makes you so afraid to make a mistake because you're going to be yanked out of the game. And this leads in other areas of the individual's life to indecisiveness. They all of a sudden feel afraid to make decisions on their own, and they'll end up relying on you as parents to make decisions for them. Ultimately, I'm sure that you would like an autonomous, independent child who feels confident in their own skin. Also, one of the things about punishment that should be known is that punishment, when it's linked to any kind of conditioning, may make the child hate any kind of form of physical activity later on in their life. They will view any kind of conditioning and as negative because they'll associate it back to when they played sports as something that wasn't very good. So if we can get out of the mindset of making conditioning negative, then that will greatly impact the child and probably make them more apt to perform physical activity as they age. So with that being said, let's move on to how we can implement some of these things into our child's life and hopefully give them a better overall sporting experience. First and foremost, with motivation, listen to your kids. Your kids will tell you what they're more interested in, what they're more inclined to do. For myself, I was very interested in basketball. I started moving towards basketball. I started wanting to go to the court by myself all the time, and it became very apparent to my father and my mother that basketball was the direction that I wanted to go. It's simple. Just listen to your kids. That's all you have to do, and you would be surprised at what you would learn from your children. I think a lot of parents get in this whole mindset that they have to read all these books and all these parenting books and they have to do it all. The more democratic that you can make your leadership as a parent, the better. If you start trying to make all these decisions for your child, they'll never know what interests them or what they like the most at all. In fact, they'll probably end up just doing sports to please you as a parent. And that moves me right into my next point, was it's about them and not you. Many of my teammates have fathers specifically who try to live vicariously through them. They're that father on the sideline that's always belittling them when they make a mistake, play bad, etc. And all that does is just tear the child down. This is about their sporting experience. It's not about yours. Your only mission should be to do whatever it takes to make your child happy and to ensure that they have a great sporting experience. Now, moving towards punishment, first and foremost, just like I previously said, focus on positive reinforcement first. Make sure that they feel safe in their environment and they're happy, and I promise you they will be more apt to make changes to their behavior if you do not like those. If you do not like the current situation. Punishment is a negative thing by nature, and the more that we as individuals choose to use it as a mechanism to change behavior, it'll just yield negative results. Lastly, if imposing punishment, if you're going to do it impersonally. Don't do it in front of teammates or a big crowd. All that's going to do is just tear down their inner persona. And you don't want your child to feel down. You want them to feel as though they're not embarrassed to be out there and play their sport. And that was some of the things that I've had in my own sporting experience. Coaches that tear you down because they want to make it about them and put on this grandiose show, just to show everybody how much power they have. And all that does is just hurt you as an individual. Your kids, if you have something to say to them, pull them aside real quick. Be like, hey, I really didn't like that you made this play. I know that you can do better. Making sure that you give that positive reinforcement is so important. Lastly, that's understanding motivation and understanding when to use punishment are super critical to ensuring that your child has an amazing sporting experience. It has given me some lifelong friendships, and it has taught me essentially everything everything I've ever learned about handling adversity, and has helped mold me into the man I am today. Thank you so much. My name is Jake Solinero, and I really hope that your child has an amazing sports experience. Best of luck.